lovely starshine lights my way to bed.
Okay, now you've got a collar attached to a collar stand, so let's move on to how you attach that to the blouse itself. Now, I do have a confession to make on this step. I was that engrossed in how to attach the collar to the blouse. I did forget to follow the step to add the little tab at the back to run the bow through. I have showed you afterwards how I've added that on after the event, but if you were going to do it the proper way, you would add it as you are attaching the collar stand to the blouse so that you can fully enclose the seam allowances within one another. So have a read of the instructions in the Wear Lemonade pattern if you want to do it properly. If you're not too fussed about making a little bit of a mistake, like I certainly am not, then you can just carry on and follow what I do. I'll see you soon. Okay, so the next step is to pin your collar and collar stand onto the neckline of the blouse. So what I've got here is the blouse with the right side of the fabric facing up, and I've got my collar and collar stand with the right side of the collar stand facing down, but it is the side that's extended, so not the side that you've folded over, because that's going to be put it onto the inside of the blouse. It's the side with the longer edge. Now, one thing that I'm kind of working out as I go, because it doesn't really explain this on the pattern, is how to line up the collar stand to the neck edge, because there doesn't appear to be any notches on the neck edge of the pattern piece. So what I think that I need to do when I've had a look at it is line it up so the edge of the top lines up with the edge of the collar. So you will have a slight overhang of this curved edge here on the collar stand. So that is the first edge. And then what I'll do is pin all the way along. Again, put plenty of pins in, because you're putting together two curved edges which kind of go in opposite directions, so you need plenty of pins to keep it in place. And then what I've done is I've pinned it all the way along. So on the other side, so on this side, your bit of the collar stand extends out a little bit further, because that's where the buttons will go. But again, I've lined it up so the collar lines up with the edge of the blouse. Hopefully that's the right way to do it, but I'll soon find out. Okay, so I'm going to head over to the sewing machine now then and show you how to sew that in place. So what I'm going to do now is stitch the collar in place. So I'm doing a 1 centimetre seam allowance again, so I'm lined up there to the 1 centimetre. As I'm sewing, I just want to ensure that this folded edge of the collar stand doesn't get caught up in the stitching.
All my dreams are coming, all my dreams are humming, all my dreams are coming true.
Okay, so I'm just going to have a quick check over now to make sure that I haven't got any pesky puckers. I really do need to watch how I say that. And I have got a couple I've spotted there actually. I'll show you in a second what they look like. So you can see there the fabric has got caught up. So what I'm going to need to do is unpick just that little section of the seam line and resew it, so I can see what's happened there on the inside. The fabric has just got caught up in the stitch line. So I'm just going to find my seam ripper. And just pulling it back, unpicking just that bit of stitching, and pulling it down until I've got enough unpicked. I deliberated whether to include this in the video or not, but I think sometimes it's good to see when things don't quite go right, and then you don't feel like it's just you when it goes wrong, unless it's just me, of course. Okay, so I'm just going to re-stitch that bit of the seam. Make sure it's flat. Okay, that's better. Pucker's gone. I did notice a pucker on the other side, so I'm just going to sort that out. I won't make you sit through and watch me painfully unpicking something again. So I'll just get those that area there unpicked and re-sewn, and then I'll head back over to the table. Okay, so the next bit is to stitch, well, pin the other side of the collar stand down so that it encloses that raw edge. What I have done is just lightly pressed that seam allowance so that the seam allowance is pointing upwards towards the collar. So what I'm now going to do is, just like we did with the cuff, I'm going to pin it so that this folded edge just covers over that stitch line. I'm going to put the pins on this side here,
all my dreams are coming, all my dreams are humming, all my dreams are coming true.
So there's pins running all the way along there now, and I've ensured that on this inside here that folded edge is covering the stitch line. I'm going to just clip off that little corner there just to make sure these ends are nice and tidy as well. I'll clip that off before I sew it. And then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to flip this over. I'm going to do the stitch line and I'm going to go slightly above the seam line just to make sure that edge of the fabric is caught in. If you were doing it really as it should, you would do what's called stitch in the ditch, where you stitch in that seam line, but I always find that the fabric doesn't quite catch on the other side, so for me I'm just going to stitch slightly upwards on that seam line just to help make sure that that does get caught. So I'll just head back over to the sewing machine and I'll get that done. Okay, so I'm going to sew, as I said before, slightly above the seam allowance here. So to ensure that I'm keeping straight, what I'm doing is I'm lining up that seam allowance just with that side of the sewing foot, and that's what I'll keep my eye on to make sure I'm sewing straight.
All my dreams are coming, all my dreams are humming, all my dreams are coming true.
Okay, so I'm just going to take a quick look to make sure I've got no major issues. And let's just have a look on the inside to make sure that's caught all the way along. Which it has. Okay, so I'm going to give it a final press. And then what I'm going to do, in fact I'll do that now, I'm just going to snip that little corner off on this tab that extends out, and I just need to top stitch along the bottom edge of that there. That's it, all done. So I'm just going to give that a press. And then we'll move on to the next section.